and roll. Call the shot. Set the course.
I'll be damned. We're into the third set. Flash is down 2 to the seemingly unstoppable Fantasy. I mean, Flash, you're going to have to do something different, man. Yeah, tried the same strat last 2 games, got shut down by Fantasy, who adapted beautifully to it. Sniping all of the dropships, wraiths, and everything like that. Denying Flash's options as he tried to go out and expand. So yeah, Flash gonna have to do something different, or he'll get walked over. I feel weird even saying that, because no one thought this would be a walkover series. Can you imagine either of these guys getting 3-0'd? That would be nuts. Okay, here we go. Accepts. Up at the 2 o'clock position, in purple on New Sniper Ridge, is Flash. So Flash is up in purple at the 2 o'clock. That means down at the 5 o'clock in red is Fantasy. Fantasy still undefeated. This is crazy. If Fantasy does manage to somehow 3-0 Flash in this series, I guess it wouldn't be completely unprecedented, because Flash has been 3-0'd before. That was Dom OSL is one of the 2007 OSLs, the 3rd place match against Stork, which was a best of 5 series. He did get 3-0'd, but I can't think of any other time that Flash has been taken down like that in a best of 5. Flash has lost some best of 5s in the past, of course, but he always gets at least 1 win. So Flash is going to have to pull a GG play now to fight back Fantasy. You have to win 3 in a row, which is looking tough against a player like Fantasy. Fantasy, well, I was going to say he didn't break a sweat in the last game, but I think he sweated profusely in that last game, so I don't think I can use that cliche. But he's extremely focused today, and Flash is going to have to bring something else to the table. He can't be stubborn and try the same thing again. Okay, this time Flash is not going for 14cc. He's going to try something different. That's good. Building his barracks just as Fantasy is. Fantasy going out to scout. They're both going out to scout at the exact same time with the STVs. We're going to look for cheese first. There's the map hacks activated. You can see the map hacks working in the eyes. Map hacks online. Looking for cheese. Gouda detected. Okay. So there is Fantasy skirting around the middle. They're both just kind of dancing around the middle, looking for barracks. Doesn't find anything, so they both go on their way. Yeah, Flash is doing the most scouting here, pulling a complete donut around the main, looking at every high ground spot for a hidden barracks. But now Flash is trying to expand, but Fantasy fighting him with the SCV. There's the SCV, though, go down. Fantasy chasing away Flash's SCV to try to build the base, and somehow Flash survived that. Thought for sure that SCV was going to die. But Flash's micro still excellent. He's going to have to up it a bit against Fantasy, because Fantasy's micro in that last game especially was just as good, if not better. He's got the vulture control that cannot be matched, and he's just going to have to out-micro him in every other instance. I don't think the Flash will out-micro Fantasy with vultures, but he could definitely try something else. Go for a Wraith opening himself this time and stick to it instead of switching into dropships. If he had stuck to Wraiths in the last game, it could have worked out a lot differently. Okay, there's the Marine trying to intercept. This SCV doesn't quite block the choke enough to keep out the scout. So Flash going to see what's in this main before the SCV explodes. He saw the lack of the factory, but the factory just now came down for Fantasy. Another fac for Flash. And we're both moving out. And I said I was going to discuss what it would mean if each player got to the finals and won in the last set, but I got distracted. So how about I do that now? if Flash makes it into the finals and wins, he will have won 4 OSLs, which no other player has ever done. He will have beaten Nada's record of 6 league titles, because now Flash has 3 MSL wins, 3 OSL wins under his belt. So if he got one more, that would give him 7 titles more than Nada, which would make Flash the greatest player in history. So that's what we're looking at if Flash wins. Of course, he's going to have to pull the GG play, as I said, to win this series now. It'll be difficult. But if anyone can do it, the Terminator can. But if Fantasy... Ooh, 2 port from Flash. So he's going for 2 star ports. As I think that Fantasy was doing the exact same thing. I think Fantasy is building 2 star ports as well, away from each other. So I think they're both doing the Wraith opening, so it's going to come down to Micro. I'm going to have to take a look at that again just to make sure and confirm that there was a second star port at the top, which there is, yes. 2 port from both. Spread out 2 port for Fantasy, making sure he doesn't get scouted immediately. But if Fantasy moves out into the finals, it would mean that he would be the only player besides Boxer to make it into 3 OSLs, 3 OSL finals, one after the other, which I think Boxer is the only one who's ever done. So that would be a bit more of history making. Unfortunately for Fantasy, there's no way he could achieve the Golden Mouse even if he won. He would have 2 OSL final wins, which would not be enough. And he would have no more chances. Wah, wah. Sad trombone plays. But yeah, I've seen and read a lot of forum posts of people saying it would be much more important if Flash won this OSL than anyone else who is currently in the running for the final. Don't really want to spoil the last semifinal for those of you who haven't seen it yet, since it was epic. Okay, there's the Wraiths. The one Wraith trying to get rid of the barracks that's floating in. But the cloak is coming up for both at the control towers, respectively. So, without scan, these guys are going to have an awfully hard time of scanning and dealing with the Wraith versus Wraith combat. I see no scan from either player yet. And no turrets. I don't see any turrets down either, so no means of detection yet from either player. Probably going to come up soon. There is Flash trying to get rid of these Marines that were pumping from that barracks. But anyway, there's Flash darting around with his Wraiths. He's got a bunch of them grouped up. And now he's moving out with his ground army as well. Going to try to pressure now. Let's see here. No detection. The observer's pointing out no comsat stations anywhere. So here come the Wraiths. The comsat station from Fantasy, though. He does have a comsat up barely in time to get a scan once those Wraiths start cloaking. There's the Wraiths coming in scanning just to make sure he can take out these Wraiths. Flash, all of his Wraiths go down. Oh, man. His brow just furrows. Oh, does not compute. So Flash needs some means of anti-air, and he's not going to be able to do this with Wraiths. He just had 3 or 4 taken down, and he has no anti-air except for the Wraith scan. Fantasy sees that glitch on the minimap, tries to chase down the Wraith, doesn't manage to get it though. But Flash desperately needs turrets right now if he wants to survive this attack, trying to repair his tanks, keep his tanks alive as he tries to get up some kind of anti-air, but this is really looking bad for Flash. He has a bunker out front, so that would be some means of anti-air, but it's static, and he's losing all of his tanks. Fantasy is just waiting in the wings with his ground army to move into that natural expansion. Once all the tanks are gone, he would just have free reign here with his siege tanks. He has siege already to take out the bunker at the front and everything else over here. 1 Wraith left for Flash, trying to micro with it. He loses it, and he has no defense at his natural expansion at all. He's trying to fall back to 1 single vulture, but there's pretty much no way he can protect this natural expansion now. You know, he has no turrets, and he's just trying to pump Wraiths and try to somehow out-micro Fantasy with the cloaked Wraiths, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. No, Fantasy's just moving in with his whole ground army now. Sieged up, has some Marines there as well to help snipe these SCVs at the natural. Goliath's coming in, getting taken down. A moving in. Fantasy destroying everything. GG from Flash. 3-0. Fantasy, I don't know if Fantasy can be stopped in this OSL. If Flash can't do it, can the guy on the other side in the finals? I don't know. Absolutely incredible play from the Vulture Terrorists. Amazing. So, we have quite the final lined up now, don't we? So good, so good. Well, guys, I have a lot of things to work on, but I will cast the Tving OSL Grand Finals in a couple of weeks. Alright, see you guys then.
국본이 국본으로 끝나면 이